So lately there came out new CIA reports about Adolf Hitler being maybe not dead or were not dead back in the day, but going to Argentina. And we are exactly gonna study this today and finally answer, did he live or did he die in Berlin? Therefore, we first go to one video which says, okay, he went to Argentina, then to one that says no. And then we go to the proven data and the CIA reports on our own and see what we can make out of them. But before we do that, please make sure, especially with these videos here, because YouTube doesn't like them, to hit a like and a subscribe. And if you want to see more like these contents here, consider subscribing to me on Patreon or my channel members. There you get always additional videos and so much more. It is definitely worth your while. And now let's go into the video. So we start with the video that says that Hitler, of course, lived in Argentina. And with both of those videos, I always want that you see when they actually say a fact, and I will stop there and say, okay, that is a fact. And when they maybe just say it's widely known, I believe that, everybody knows, it's widely reported, because this is just avoiding to make an actual proof of something and just saying, yeah, everybody should know this. It's true. We don't have to argue about this, which is not a point where we can in the end argue about. And, please pay attention to this during both of those videos, because this is really important.
I think most people know this story and who have studied the subject know that Adolf Hitler didn't kill himself in a bunker in Berlin as the Red Army closed in. I think that's, we all know that was a fabricated story, or if you watch this show, you probably understand that. Hitler actually fled Germany weeks before that using a group of underground tunnels that led to an airstrip. And that airstrip was flown, he was flown from...
Damn, I have to censor so much here. I just think I blurred this whole bigger picture. If you think, why is this blurred? They are just all the time things that YouTube doesn't want that you see.
Berlin out. It took submarines, or multiple submarines that were used, U-boats that were then sent to Argentina. In other words, Hitler lived for nearly 2 decades more in Argentina, along with vast numbers of the Third Reich. Well, now Argentinian President Javier Milei has just ordered the release of all remaining documents on all of those Nazis who fled Germany and moved to Argentina after World War II. Basically, it was almost like a second base of operations in Argentina.
Okay, so first of all, until here now, we have basically, he tells a story. But so far, and that is why I said think about it, also in the other video if you want to, he didn't say any proof of that. It's just, like your bedtime story. You can think about something, make it up, but what you need, of course, is proofs.
If you're not familiar with that, like basically the Third Reich operated out of Argentina and Germany. And many of them, including Adolf Hitler, lived in Argentina well after 1945. Most people know that Hitler lived out his days in Bariloche, Argentina, until he died there in the mid-1960s. Yes, you can read the CIA documents about this.
We will in the end of this video.
The FBI documents also about sightings of Hitler in this area. They knew about it. Of course they knew about it. It was largely facilitated, I think it's safe to say, by the United States and its allies.
And because now, he steps into saying things like you could then think, oh, okay, that is actually true. The things that he now says are absolutely, some of them are true in itself, but he connects them in a way that are absolutely bullshit. And we will go through them now.
It was largely facilitated, I think.
Yes, the CIA knew about, or there is a report, that is the report we are discussing later, that there was a sighting of Hitler, or at least somebody that said that he saw him. That is true.
It's safe to say by the United States and its allies.
No, it was not facilitated, because why should you facilitate, as United States, why should you facilitate that your biggest enemy, the one guy that stands for all of this stuff, why should you say, oh, have a nice life there? That's crazy. Yeah, just have a nice life there. For all the other guys we killed, but you can live. Makes absolutely no sense.
Operation Paperclip, anybody?
Operation Paperclip is, I think, where the Nazi scientists went to this, and I don't see why this has any meaning, because Hitler is not a scientist. And I think you will now say quid pro quo, which, in my understanding, I just googled that I'm right with quid pro quo. So quid pro quo just means that I give you something, and you give me something. In German, we call this one hand washes the other. And basically, what could Hitler give them? Hitler lost. Hitler lost the war. They could just give, he means, of course, the scientists. I mean, what should the scientists do otherwise? Stay in a ruined Germany? And do they think that they are still obedient to a guy that is not their leader anymore, that lost everything? No, of course not. The Allies won the war, so Hitler had nothing to give them. So there's no quid pro quo in there.
Pro quo?
Also, if you look into this, the skull that is held in Russia that was supposedly the remains of Adolf Hitler with a bullet wound in it is female.
Yeah.
So
that is true. And we go on this evidence later.
When you look for proof that Hitler did, in fact, kill himself in the bunker, you are going to find a lot of dead ends.
Yeah. And all you need to read, you can read a great book on this.
Yeah, there are a few of dead ends, that's true. But there's also some evidence that is very hard to not or to neglect. And I'm very, very curious if they are able to do that. But if they now show me why this other evidence is not valid, then of course, I'm always open to change my mind. Please hit like and subscribe. It would help me so much. Thank you.
Called The Grey Wolf. It's a great book. There's many books written about this now. But yeah, the skull, the fragments, they ran the DNA tests on it, and the Soviets allowed them to do this testing. And even Stalin openly talked about that Hitler lived, that he was not there. So Stalin even knew about it.
Not true.
It's widely.
He believed that. Not new.
Known in Argentina, by the way, well known that Hitler sired 2 children while he lived in Argentina. After the war, 2 girls. Wouldn't that be something to learn where Hitler's children are today? Like Hitler's descendants? That'd be interesting. Maybe we'll learn that in those documents as well. But we'll be watching this story. I'm fascinated. It seems like there's an open era of transparency right now. You might be wondering.
So I skipped the other parts because basically he just said exactly the same things again. There was a big advertisement in there and they talked a little bit about American politics, but that is all not the thing in here. So we basically have 2 things of evidence. We have, first of all, those CIA documents, which I already said we will cover in the end of the video ourselves. And we have the skull. And that is also what we will cover now in the next video, where we'll go a little bit into this. So now let's look on the video, which explains a little bit more those documents.
I'm joined here by Catherine Marchand d'Abreu. In today's edition,
the name is so French.
Classified documents would prove that Hitler ended his life in Argentina. Tell us more.
That's right. Hitler's possible escape to South America, a popular conspiracy theory, has once again become a hot topic on social media after Argentina's Javier Milei recently announced that they would declassify all government documents relating to Nazi fugitives who settled in Argentina after World War II. Following this announcement, these viral claims started to spread on social media, notably X, where users are sharing this photo of you.
We will later go in exactly this document, so stay for the end or till the end until we do this to get my total view on this.
It's allegedly declassified by Argentina's Milei. This user says CIA just confirmed in declassified Argentina files that Hitler left Germany together with this document dated October 3rd, 1955, that alleges that in 1955, a certain Philipp Citroën, a self-proclaimed SS man that shoots Staffel Nazi protection squadron, claims that Hitler is alive and just left Colombia for Argentina in January 1955. To reaffirm this testimony, Citroën attached this very poor quality photo to the report in which he is seen with a man bearing a striking resemblance to Hitler, who could also be anyone, or a picture taken at any time. As users continue to share viral videos, podcasts here, for example, seen over 8 million times, 8.6 million times on X, with more detail on this testimony that Hitler was alive and living in a Colombian city called Tuja, near Bogota.
Oh, that is exactly the video we're gonna watch later. Or watched. I don't know which order I do. I record this first and then the other video.
Nazis, when alerted by the possibility of being discovered in this Colombian refuge, he reportedly decided then to escape to Argentina, having lived there for another 20 years, allegedly, according to the new documents released by Argentinian President Javier Milei.
And what have you found regarding this declassified document? Is it even new?
Well, this declassified CIA report on Hitler's is actually not new. It's not even a scoop.
I think
per these claims
2017, right? It is was the first time declassified in 2017, I think.
on social media, nor has it been released by Argentinian government. These documents had already been released in 2017 during the first opening of the JFK files, assassination files that were ordered by President Donald Trump at the time. Furthermore, in 1955, the CIA was already skeptical about this information coming from Colombia, as the CIA dismissed the matter actually many times. The first time around, we see this dismissal on the document that was actually shared on the viral claims. The first line of the text is very...
I want to picture just one thing. I don't know if this is just a misspelling or anything, but Adolf Hitler is not wrote this way. He is wrote with an F, not with a PH. So I don't know if this is, I don't say that this is not a real document, but that is just something that totally strikes my eye, that you would never, in Germany, never ever write Adolf Hitler this way.
Very clear where they state that neither the agent who sent the report nor the one who wrote it is able to assess the authenticity of the information being relayed. Then a little more digging reveals that the case continues in two other declassified reports. The first that deems this report to be fanciful, according, as they say, to the fantasy of the report, while the second, dating back to November 1955, recommends that the matter be completely dropped. So this conspiracy theory that Hitler survived and escaped to South America actually clashes with the work of thousands of historians and intelligence reports that declare that Hitler died in April 30th, after committing a suicide via gunshot to the head and a cyanide pill in his underground bunker with his wife, Eva Braun, who took a cyanide pill, which they also gave to their dog, as a 2018 study on Hitler's teeth debunks conspiracy theory.
Yes, that is one of the biggest things. I mean, the other video said that there was something shot in the head, right? And the head was actually female. And that is actually true. The head that they are talking about is female. But no, Hitler was not female. This is just not Hitler's head. And I mean, there's a reason to why Hitler didn't want it to have his whole full corpse still there, because he feared, in the Third Reich, back in the day, Germans were a lot about honor. This whole war was a little bit about honor and about race and being superior. So back in the day, like, honor was a very, very, very important thing. So they didn't want it, actually, that, they showed his corpse like in a parade and look, this is Hitler, we killed him, or did something with his body that shouldn't be done. So that was actually one reason why he got burned, just to make it impossible to do anything with his resemblance, and yeah.
Over his death as the one that we just saw, according to French researchers who confirmed that the theory that Hitler definitely died in 1945 from taking cyanide in a bullet after analyzing fragments of the dictator's teeth that are held in Moscow.
And what should we expect from Argentina files then?
Well, the announcement of these Argentina files follows up on a promise made by Argentinian President Javier Milei last month, where he said that he will grant full access to financial documents relating to Nazi fugitives who settled in Argentina at the request of the United States, as the Argentinian government will comply and grant access to documents actually relating to the escape routes, the so-called rat lines that helped Nazis escape Europe after the Holocaust. So hard to say if these documents will reveal anything new, but they will detail mostly banking and financial transactions for the up to 10,000 Nazis and other fascist war criminals that fled
Wow,
to
I didn't know that there were 10,000 of them.
Yeah, and other countries, including Canada, the US, Mexico, Switzerland, Australia. One of the two primary escape routes, these rat lines, went through Germany and Spain, as you can see, then across the Atlantic, while a second one from Germany to Rome, then Genoa, then across the Atlantic. So 5,000...
I think this is the one that Eichmann took.
Nazis are actually reported to have fled to Argentina using these rat lines, including Holocaust architect Adolf Eichmann and the most wanted doctor of the Auschwitz extermination camp, Joseph Mengele, nicknamed the Angel of Death, as perhaps we'll have more insight of the finances that enabled these escapes to classified materials that will be made available.
Okay, so basically I told you now about the skull, but then you are probably, Chris, what are then actually evidence? Why are you so sure that this wasn't Hitler? And basically there is one big thing, and that is his lower chew. I don't know the English word for this, but this part of his body here. And there was his dentist, and actually also like a dentist is not secretary, but you know, it's one that had a nurse basically, that actually could both very easily define because of a very unique way of bridges and all of that stuff in his in this part of his body, that this was actually Adolf Hitler. And this is also the one evidence that most historians just say, okay, then, you know, we don't need anything further. That is the guy. And of course, this was not done from this female skull, because Hitler was not female. So yes, this skull was female, but this was not Hitler's. Maybe Eva Braun, I don't know, maybe somebody totally else, but certainly not Hitler's. And that is why, I mean, in many countries, in most countries, it is believed. And yeah, I think it's also very reasonable that Hitler did not escape. And also, as they said, we now go to these documents. Wait, let's go to the documents. First of all, we have here the picture. And although, of course, we all say, come on, he has the beard, he has this. The picture, the image is absolutely not well, right? I mean, we can't see a lot here. And they said basically here in those lines, I don't find it right now, but they said basically that they could never confirm what this guy said, and that this is reported because, you know, when you're here, like how many years, like 20 years later, about one of the biggest villains in history, that he is not dead, then of course, you will report that as a secret agency, right? The second thing is, we need to think about, again, here we see it, who gives this information? We always need to think about who gives the information and what could be the intent of giving those information. And basically here we have a German SS trooper, so probably somebody on the line with Hitler that just wants to uphold, maybe he thinks he is certainly in South America. And, you know, they are pretty under their own, right? There are not too many unguilty Germans fleeing there because they don't need to flee, right? So basically, they have a lot of time to just get their propaganda more into their head. And also, of course, when they say, oh my God, Adolf Hitler still lives, that is a good sign for them because, you know, they were basically, many of them were, not all of them, but many of them were fans of him. So they have a very strong interest to say this, to keep morale high and all of the other stuff. So, yeah. While, for example, we could now say, why does the French TV has anything to gain by this? I don't see it, because the French were actually, you know, Germany's enemies. So, yeah, that is also another thing. So, in my opinion, we have very strong evidence that Hitler was shot by himself or dead by the cyanide capsule in Berlin in 1945, and that he didn't live in Argentina. Thank you so much to Todd Phillips and all of the other patrons and channel members for your support. You're awesome.